John Allen Chau. In November 2018, John Allen Chau, an American Christian missionary, illegally traveled to North Sentinel Island to contact and live among the Sentinelese, an isolated indigenous group, so he could convert them to Christianity. On the 15th of November, Chau paid local fishermen to take him to a point between 1,600 and 2,300 feet from the island's shore, so he could continue to the island by kayak. As he approached, he attempted to communicate with the islanders and offer gifts, but he pulled back after facing hostile responses. On another visit, the islanders reacted to him with a mixture of amusement, bewilderment, and hostility. He sang worship songs to them and spoke to them in Xhosa. They either fell silent or laughed hysterically. When he tried to hand over fish and gifts, a boy shot a metal-headed arrow that pierced the Bible he was holding close to his chest. After that, he retreated again. On his final visit, on the 17th of November, Chau told the fishermen to leave without him. The fishermen later saw the islanders dragging Chau's body, but his remains were never recovered. 7 fishermen were later arrested for taking Chau to the island illegally. Joseph Smith. It was January 22, 2023, in Sumner County, Kansas. Joseph Smith, a plumber, decided to go hunting with a friend and his friend's shepherd dog when a tragic incident occurred. They loaded the dog and the guns into the back seat of the truck and headed into the woods. While Joseph sat in the passenger seat, the dog accidentally stepped on the trigger, causing the rifle to discharge and shoot Joseph in the back. Emergency response units arrived within minutes and attempted to revive him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. An initial investigation examined whether the dog was at fault, but the sheriff's office ruled the shooting an accident and closed the case. The dog was not harmed. Franck Kabele. In January 2014, Franck Kabele, a 35-year-old Zimbabwean evangelical pastor, had a revelation that told him that with enough faith, he could achieve what Jesus was able to do. He gathered his congregation and told them that he was capable of reenacting the very miracles of Jesus Christ. He decided to walk on water like Jesus did, so he took his congregation out to the beach in Libreville, the capital city of Gabon. He told them that he would cross the Gabon estuary on foot, a distance of 7 miles that normally takes 20 minutes by boat. As he stepped into the water, his right foot sank immediately. Sadly, by the second step into the water, Kabele found himself completely submerged and ultimately drowned. Archduchess Mathilda of Austria. It was May 22, 1867, at Hetzendorf Palace in Vienna. 18-year-old Archduchess Mathilda Marie Adelgunde Alexandra of Austria had put on a gauze dress to go to the theater and then lit a cigarette. Soon she heard her father approaching, and she remembered that he had strictly forbidden smoking. So she hid the cigarette behind her, accidentally setting her highly flammable dress on fire. Her back, arms, neck, and legs were severely burned before the fire could be extinguished. She suffered second and third-degree burns over her entire body. Parts of her dress had melted into her skin, and she ultimately died of these injuries 2 weeks later. Her entire family witnessed her death. Wayne Roth. On November 8, 1997, 38-year-old Wayne Roth went to visit his friend Roger Croteau in Jenkins, Pennsylvania. While drinking beer and getting high with his friends, he decided to grab his friend's pet cobra from a reptile tank nearby. He was instantly bitten in the right hand by the cobra, so his friend Roger suggested that they go to a hospital and insisted on taking him there. But Wayne had other plans. He said he did not need to go to the hospital. He was going to handle it like a man. He asked to be taken to a local bar instead. While drinking there, he bragged about being bitten by a snake to everyone. Unfortunately, though, cobra venom is slow-acting. He felt unwell within 3 hours of being at the bar and died shortly afterwards while being driven to the hospital by his friend. A toxicology report showed that Roth's blood alcohol content was 0.354, over 3 times the legal limit in the state, and that controlled opiate substances were present. The official cause of death was listed as cardiorespiratory failure due to drug overdose. Luciano Re Cecconi. On January 18, 1977, 28-year-old Lazio footballer Luciano Re Cecconi, along with his teammate Pietro Guedin and another friend, decided to stage a fake robbery in Bruno Tabacchini's jewelry store in Rome. They believed it would be a hilarious prank. The trio masked up and stormed into the shop, shouting that it was a robbery. Unbeknownst to them, the store had been robbed just days earlier, and the owner, Bruno Tabacchini, had armed himself as a precaution. When the masked men entered, Tabacchini did not hesitate as he aimed his gun at Re Cecconi's accomplice, who immediately dropped his weapon and raised his hands. But Re Cecconi was committed to the prank and continued acting. Tabacchini fired, hitting Luciano. Re Cecconi's last words were reportedly, "It's a joke. It's only a joke." But it was too late. The gunshot wound was so severe that he died just 30 minutes later, at the age of 28, leaving behind his wife and 2 children. Bruno Tabacchini was arrested and held for 18 days before being released without charge. Judge Severino Santiapici declared that the death was the result of self-defense and a terrible accident. Garry Hoy. On July 9, 1993, Garry Hoy, a Canadian lawyer, was working in his office on the 24th floor when his secretary asked him to give a tour of the office to a group of law interns. While showing the interns around, he attempted to demonstrate the strength of the building's window glass by slamming himself into a window. He had performed this stunt many times before, bouncing off the glass. After one successful attempt, Hoy tried again. In this instance, the force of his impact removed the window from its frame, causing both the intact window and Hoy to fall from the building. He fell 24 stories to his death. Alejandro Cazares and Roberto Moreno. It was May 24, 2019, in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Two Texans, Alejandro Cazares and his friend Roberto Moreno, were driving south when they encountered a lifting bridge closed to vehicular traffic to allow boats to pass. With the safety gate down, Moreno exited the vehicle and pushed the gate arm up. Cazares then drove under the gate, picked Moreno up, and continued toward the ramp at the end of the bridge. They stopped briefly before Cazares placed the vehicle in reverse and accelerated forward in an attempt to jump the bridge ramp. The car became airborne, landed in the waterway, and sank to the bottom. Cazares couldn't exit the vehicle, while Moreno was found outside the submerged car. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. Barcia. It was July 12, 1997, in Reston, Virginia. Barcia, a 22-year-old fast food worker, decided to go bungee jumping on his day off. He couldn't find any place to practice bungee jumping in the area, so he figured he could do it himself. He chose a nearby railroad bridge in Lake Accotink Park, standing 70 feet high, as his jump-off point. He tied together a bunch of bungee cords, which turned out to be a few feet shorter than the height of the bridge. He headed to the jumping location, tied one end of the bungee cord around his leg, attached the other to the bridge trestle, and jumped. Yet the cords did not stop him above the ground. Eric failed to account for the cord's stretch, making the total length of the cords greater than the height of the bridge. He hit the ground with such force that he died instantly. Lee Tenley. It was August 28, 2012, in Kalispell, Montana, when Lee Tenley, a 44-year-old Montana native, decided to play a prank. Dressed in a military-style ghillie suit, he headed to the highway at night to provoke a Bigfoot sighting. A 15-year-old girl driving in the right-hand lane of U.S. Highway 93 struck him, and as he lay in the road, a 17-year-old girl in another vehicle ran him over. Because it was a full-body suit made of camouflage fabric, the drivers had a hard time spotting him. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Acton Beale. On May 15, 2011, at 4:30 a.m., Acton Beale, a 20-year-old from Brisbane, Australia, had been out drinking with a friend and planking, posing face down in various unusual spots on their way home. He decided on a more daring planking stunt and asked a friend to film it. He went to the balcony of his 7th-floor apartment and attempted to plank there. While trying to lie down on a fence on his balcony, he lost his balance and fell 70 feet, fatally injuring himself. The emergency response units arrived within minutes and attempted unsuccessfully to resuscitate him for 20 minutes. He died on the spot, becoming the first known death caused by planking. Archbold. In October 2012, Archbold, a 32-year-old from West Palm Beach, Florida, decided to participate in an eating contest at Ben Siegel Reptile Store in Deerfield Beach. He had to eat as many live cockroaches, crickets, and worms as possible so he could win a giant snake. He was competing against 30 other participants, but unlike them, who ate one insect at a time, he shoveled handfuls of crickets, worms, and cockroaches into his mouth and drank water to wash them down. He won the contest. No one else ate close to what he did. He immediately went to the bathroom to vomit, then became ill and collapsed in front of the store. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, where doctors pronounced him dead. About 30 people ate the insects, but authorities said none of the other contestants became ill. The death was ruled an accident caused by asphyxia due to choking and aspiration of gastric contents. Overacker. On October 1, 1995, 39-year-old Robert Overacker ventured to Niagara Falls, Canada, to attempt an audacious stunt. For 7 years, Robert meticulously planned how to jump off Niagara Falls on a jet ski, not just for the thrill, but to raise awareness for the homeless in his native California. He believed this was a cause that desperately needed more attention, and a stunt as daring as seemed the perfect way to bring it. Although Robert thought he had prepared for the stunt, there was one critical oversight that would ultimately prove catastrophic. He planned to use a rocket-propelled parachute to soften the fall. As he ventured into the Niagara River, the jet ski had the words, "Save the Homeless," written on it. Shortly before going over the falls, he let go of the jet ski and lifted his hands high into the air. In an instant, he vanished from sight as he went over the edge. His rocket-propelled parachute failed to open, and he fell to his death. Overacker's body was recovered the next day, and he was pronounced dead at Niagara General Hospital. His failed stunt was captured on video by a German tourist, Italian John Doe. It was April 19, 2022, Easter Monday in Cattolica, Italy, when an unidentified 46-year-old man, feeling thirsty, decided to sneak into the back of a closed market. He picked up a bottle of water from a tall stack of crates, causing the entire stack to collapse on top of him. Employees returned to the shop the next day and were confronted with a collapsed mess of crates. A few hours into the workday, they began sorting the collapsed stack. When they lifted the first crate, an arm emerged. It was immediately clear that a tragedy had taken place. Thanks to CCTV footage, the Italian police were able to reconstruct the final moments of the 46-year-old's life. Mike Hughes. On February 22, 2020, 64-year-old amateur rocket builder Mad Mike Hughes, with the help of his partner Waldo Stakes, decided to reach an altitude of 5,000 feet while riding his homemade steam-powered rocket. Hughes was well known for his belief that the Earth was flat. He hoped to prove his theory by going to space. The test was a stepping stone toward getting as close to space as possible. Mike propelled himself into the air and then crashed into the ground. The parachute, designed for landing, deployed too early and detached from the craft seconds after takeoff. Mike did not survive and was pronounced dead on impact. If you liked this video, subscribe for similar ones or join my Discord to suggest another.